Hello and welcome to the latest season of Preserving History and Democracy. I'm Communications Coordinator Cynthia Mendoza.
And I'm Caroline Zamora, Chief Deputy County Clerk. We are so happy to have you here. This is our episode 1 of season 3. I'm so excited that we are on season 3. I know Cynthia and I have been working, and Jacob have been working to really promote this podcast.
Yeah.
We talked about a lot of fun things, elections, ghost stories, unsolved mysteries.
All of it.
Unsolved murders.
Oh, those are my favorite.
Like, we talk about such fun things.
Yeah.
Roads. That was such a fun podcast.
You know, and I didn't think that one would be like an interesting topic, but when I was listening to it, I was like, this is crazy. Like all these roads are intentional.
Agree. Like,
How cool.
I walked into the, because what happens is usually it gets scheduled and it's on my calendar, right? And I was like, roads? Why are we talking about roads? Like, what is going on? And then during that podcast, I was like, this is one of the coolest topics we've ever talked about. We talked about like ancient civilizations.
Yeah.
The Spaniards coming over. I mean, Mexico City, which was like New Spain. We talked. What else did we talk about? We talked about Fantasia in that podcast.
Just about everything, right?
That was a fun podcast. Blackdom was a lot of fun. The city of Blackdom. I thought that was a really cool podcast. Just like history of like the Vado area, the families that founded Vado. I thought that was a lot of fun. Of course, all the election stuff. I always love talking about elections.
Right.
Because our office does such an amazing job with elections, and so does our recording and filing department, which is why we have such cool things to talk about.
Absolutely. Bern does such a great job at finding topics and then finding guests for them, because that's the hard part, is finding an expert on the topic we're talking about, and she's done an incredible job. And this season we're going to be having a lot of amazing guests, so I'm really excited about it.
Me too. And I love that Bernadine Caporal, who works on the RNF side, the recording and filing side, she's also one of our producers. Like Cynthia was saying, she does all kinds of research. She loves being in the vault.
Yeah.
Our vault, of course, houses all the historical documents for the county. She loves being in there and she loves researching, and so I just love that Bern is so passionate about this. And I'm like, incredible. I'm glad you enjoyed the podcast, Bern.
I know, I love it. It was one of those projects where me and her were kind of thrown into it, and we're like, well, what do we do? And we've kind of figured it out together, and we've assembled this incredible team who really knows their stuff. And I think it's like clockwork now, these podcasts.
That was my fault. I told our clerk, Amanda, I was like, I really want to start a podcast. Yeah. And she was like, do it. And
it's been
look
fun,
at this.
though.
How fun is this? Look at Jacob smiling. He's like,
it's been one of my favorite projects. So I'm really glad that you pushed us to do this. I was like, what are we going to do a podcast on? And we found the topic every week.
We have so much stuff. Yeah,
absolutely.
So again, this is episode 1 of season 3. Very excited. Today we're talking about election updates. Of course, we finished the primary, the 2024 primary election, and it was held on June 4th. It went so smoothly.
It did.
Our staff is so wonderful. Our team, we have full-time 35 people. Yeah. We also have over 300 election officials.
Yeah.
And election officials are really the front line of elections. They're that first level of accountability. And what I love about especially New Mexico and our New Mexico election system is there has to be like an equal mix of the three major parties.
Right.
So there has to be Democrats and Republicans at each site. What's nice is we can kind of throw in independents wherever, because by definition they don't have a party. And so really our election officials they're your neighbors. They're here in our community. And like I said, they're the first level of accountability. They're the ones setting up and tearing down those the sites on election day, on election night.
I really got to give a shout out to Karen Hernandez too, who does such an incredible job at finding these election officials. And it can get stressful, I know, for her, because sometimes people have to drop out for whatever reason, and she always keeps such a level head. And I'm like,
what I love about Karen is she's like the sweetest person on the planet.
Right.
If you ever see her set up for how she's coordinating these over 300 people, it's amazing to see. It's like watching this really fun game that she's playing, and it's like all in her head too. Also, what she's really good at is understanding like people dynamics.
Yeah.
She's like, okay, these people will work well together because we need people to work well that day. She's also, which I think is wonderful, and at the direction of our clerk, Dr. Amanda Lopez Askin, Karen overstaffs each site. Because inevitably, things happen.
Right.
We're humans. Things happen on election day, and Karen, will get a call at 6 in the morning because we're here at 5 in the morning on election day. But Karen will get a call saying, I can't be there today for whatever reason. I'm sick, my kid's sick, whatever's going on that day. And Karen has to figure out, and she has to fix everything. And so luckily she overstaffs everything. And so it's not a huge ordeal, but it can be if something goes wrong. But luckily stressful. Karen is very good at what she does. And we didn't have any issues.
I know.
It was so smooth. It was wonderful.
And I think I always wait for like another shoe to drop or something to wait for something to go wrong. But I think Karen she handles it so well. It's almost like she knows what could happen.
Yes.
And she plans for it. So.
And she's been doing this so long.
Yeah.
She was an election official before she worked for us. And now that she works for us, she does such an amazing job. She really does.
She is. She's incredible.
I know. So shout out to Karen.
And shout out to our election officials because we need you guys and democracy needs you. So.
Yes. You are here for democracy. You're saving democracy. So thank you to our election officials. I want to give you all a shout out.
And if you want to be an election official, we're always looking for some. So head out to dacelections.com. We have an interest form there. So check it out.
Please do. And it's paid.
Yeah. Not bad.
Yeah. Let's see. Another shout out I want to give to is our warehouse team. Roman's the supervisor out there. The guys, I mean, we have, gosh, how many tabulators?
I think it's 3 per site.
I want to say it's 2, I think, per site.
2 per site. And then early voting has, I think, 3.
It's like 170
it's a lot.
Something. Like 150, 170 something. So they're delivering tabulators. They're delivering the ballot paper. They're making sure things are running smoothly. So shout out to the guys in the warehouse. It's a lot of work and they do a great job. Another shout out to our team here in the office. Janice Hiron is our supervisor of the Bureau of Elections. And I tell her she's my elections expert. And she hates when I say that, but it's true. Like when I have a question, I'm like, Janice.
Yeah.
And so shout out to Janice. And really like Doreen, like the entire team here in the office, they do an absolutely fantastic job. And so shout out to the team.
They're incredible. So let's talk about turnout for the primary.
So turnout was a little low, but so it was about 14,700-ish around there, nearly 11%. Election day, we had 6,896 voters. Early voting, we had 5,501. And absentee voting, we had 2,372 absentee or by mail voters. It was a low turnout for a primary, which we expect that's pretty typical for primaries. There were only 2 contested races, no contested races for the Republican Party. There were only 2 contested races for the Democratic Party, and that was the district attorney race and the county clerk race.
Right.
And so there weren't a lot of races that were needing to, again, be contested.
I think a lot of people are looking at the district attorney race. That one was pretty
it was very high profile. Yep. And so that's what I think the reason for low turnout is. I'm sure there's pollsters out there that can give you a lot more information, but that's why I think that the primary turnout was a little bit low.
I'm sure general will be a big turnout.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ready
Presidential
for that.
year. Yes. And so the county certified the election on June 11th, and then the state certified the election on June 25th.
There was also a post-election system check that happened on July 1st, and that was for precincts 59 and 14, and it was for the Libertarian presidential race, right?
Yes, and so a post-election system check is a fancy way of saying an audit.
Right. They kind of just make sure our machines are working correctly, that everything is accounted for, and
and so the way that works is the Secretary of State's office. I mean, I watched it because it's public, and they have an accounting firm that does the randomized, how they select them. And so it's all randomized. It's kind of fun. You're watching them roll dice and things like that. And so they did that. And then it's, as we're watching it, it's showing, okay, Doña Ana County, these are the precincts you're getting.
Right.
So that's how we know which precincts we're going to be auditing. Um, and then we also had a filing day for independent or for write-ins, and that was on June 27th. I always love a filing day.
It's
Filing day
fun.
is always fun, even if it's a small filing day. Like
Yeah.
filing day for independents and write-ins. Write-ins are very rare. We don't have a lot of independents running,
Right.
and so this is a smaller filing day. But
Right.
I love filing day.
It's still exciting.
Yes, I think anyone who wants to run for office, like it can be an intense process, and so I appreciate people wanting to. And so filing day is always fun to me, I think.
Me too. I think it was, we got a few pictures, me and Jacob, of some, I think, judges that were running for retention.
Yeah, retention judges that day
So
also, yep.
it was fun seeing them. They're still really excited about it. So, as they should be. So it's incredible.
Agree. Let's see. So registration's also open. So what happens during an election is as soon as early voting starts, registration, the basically the voter rolls close. And that's because we don't want changes happening during an election. So that's why the voter rolls close. And so they reopened. What day was that? June 10th is when they reopened. And so during that time when the voter rolls are closed, you can make updates and things like that. You can, send us a new voter registration card. We just don't process until June 10th.
And then you can use same day registration.
Absolutely.
As
Also,
well, so.
Yes. And so you can do the same day registration if you need to vote. Same day registration was utilized quite a bit. And what's great about that, and I mean, we've talked about this on several podcasts, is again, same day. So you can go in, you can say, I moved, I changed districts, I moved, I need to update my voter registration. And you can do that and then vote.
Yeah.
All in the same day.
That's pretty incredible. But
it's great, I think.
I think it's helping a lot of people vote as well. Because a lot of people think, oh, well, registration book's closed. I can't update anything. I can't vote this time. Yeah. But no, you can go vote.
Absolutely.
Just use same day registration. You need your ID, like a bill if you have it. Mm-hmm. So
something like a proof of address.
Exactly. Yes. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's an incredible tool, but registration books are open again. So if you need to make updates, go ahead and do that.
NMvote.
I actually need to make mine.
Yes, nmvote.org. If you want to just do that online real quick, easy to do.
And
shout out to the state of New Mexico. Like we're so voter friendly.
Absolutely.
We have, early voting. We have multiple sites for early voting. We have the mail option, the absentee. There's now a permanent absentee list. Yes. So if you want to just keep receiving your ballot by mail from here on out, you can register for that. We're just so voter friendly. Sometimes I hear about states that have like only election day and that's it. You have one day to vote. And
they're very strict.
And I'm like, it blows my mind. Like, how is that? To me, I don't feel that it is fair to the voter.
Right.
And the whole reason is for the voters.
Yeah.
And so I love that New Mexico is so voter friendly.
I agree. And I think we have a lot of systems in check where people can vote. Like gives us, if you're eligible to vote, you can vote, and there's a lot of options for you. If you can't come in and vote, you got absentee voting. If you need an absentee ballot, I believe you can email us at elections@donianacounty.org, and you can start asking for that for the general election. So
also, I know that not all states have UOCAVA.
Yeah.
And UOCAVA is our uniformed and civilians overseas. Mm-hmm. And not all states allow our uniformed person serving our country in the military to vote.
That's insane to me. I mean, you're literally serving our country.
I know, it blows my mind too. And so also very proud of New Mexico and our UOCAVA system for our uniformed and civilians overseas. Americans who have the right to vote, who just happen to be either serving or living overseas.
Yeah. So I love New Mexico voting, and I think that's why we were ranked number 1.
Agree. So. Yep. I mean, we talked about that in one of our other podcasts, but I'll say it again.
Very
New
proud
Mexico
of it.
Ranked number 1 in the nation for our voting systems. Very proud of us for that. I want to go ahead and touch base on some misinformation, malinformation, just wrong information out there. I know we've touched on a few items in a previous podcasts. You can go and check those out. One of the ones that we frequently hear is New Mexico needs paper ballots. New Mexico has paper ballots.
That's what we got.
You vote on them. That's how we vote. When you go into a polling site, your ballot is printed for you. Mm-hmm. You receive 2 pieces of paper. One piece of paper is the permit that has your address and who you are and that you're voting at that location. The other one is your ballot that does not have any identifying information because it's private. you have the right to privacy for your vote, and you get a paper ballot.
So
we have paper ballots. Paper ballots are really the gold standard.
Yeah.
Because for whatever reason, if we need to rerun ballots and we need to run an entire election again, we can do that.
Yeah.
And that's why paper ballots are a gold standard.
Absolutely.
And so I'm very glad that New Mexico has paper ballots and will likely continue to have them for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I think it should be standard. And I'm not really quite sure where that misinformation came from. If you voted, paper ballots are standard. So I don't know. I don't know where that came from.
Yeah. Another thing I want to talk about, again, misinformation, malinformation, just wrong, whether intentionally wrong or naively wrong.
Right.
Is that our voter rolls don't remove people who may be deceased or something like that. When in fact, if a person is deceased and has died, we actually have staff dedicated to checking the local newspapers and obituaries. And so going through that every day and checking those.
Yeah.
We also receive reports from the Secretary of State's office, who receive reports from Department of Health vital statistics. Right. And so we get that list so that we can remove them. Also, quite frankly, we hear a lot from families.
Yeah.
And it is to a degree the responsibility of families. And we do hear from families quite a bit.
Yeah.
Letting us know that someone has died.
Right.
And that we can go ahead and remove them from the voter rolls. And the way that we can do that is they have to send us either an obituary or a death certificate.
Okay.
So it's not like someone calls us up and like,
we're like, oh, we believe you.
Like, no. Like you have to, show.
There has to be proof.
Exactly. Yeah. We also get from the ERIC system, and we get a list annually of deceased. And so those are some ways that we can remove people who have passed away.
Yeah.
Another piece of misinformation or malinformation that we hear is that people are moving across states and we're not removing them from voter rolls. Well, quite frankly, we don't know that people moved.
Yeah.
We don't know that someone
can't
moved
tell that.
down the street within the county. And we don't know if someone moved out of state either. It is, quite frankly, their responsibility to let us know that they've moved and that if they'd like their voter registration canceled here.
And we do get quite a few emails.
We do.
Saying like, hey, I moved out of state. I no longer want to be registered to vote in Doniana. So Emily sends them out their paper.
Exactly. We send them a form that either electronically we can email it to them or we can mail it to them so that they can fill out the form and then we cancel their registration.
Exactly.
And so that happens. We also are part of ERIC. And so the ERIC system is states talking to each other. So if, let's say, you were registered here in New Mexico and you moved to West Virginia. I don't know if West Virginia is part of ERIC. Anyways, if you move to another state, all of a sudden, like, we get notified that, hey, this person is registered in 2 states. And that triggers our office to send them a letter saying, hey, what's going on? Let us know if you need to cancel your registration. We're letting you know that we've been made aware. And at that point, the voter can let us know which state they're residing in and if they would like to cancel their registration.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of processes that take place.
A lot of checks and balances.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Secretary of State really makes sure that, people aren't registered to vote if they're not registered if they don't live here in Doniana or in the state of New Mexico. There's a big process for it.
And also I'd like to reiterate to folks that, again, we don't know if you moved. We
don't
know if you moved.
We can't stalk you guys.
2 doors down. Yeah, we don't know. So even if you move like within the state, let's say you're, living in Doniana and you move to Bernalillo, like we don't know that either.
Yeah.
And so as soon as you update, especially in state, as soon as you update on your voter registration, there's a nice internal process, and we just kind of go through those. And again, lots of checks and balances. What's great about New Mexico is you can register at the DMV.
Yeah.
Which is great, especially for young people who are getting their license for the first time. That's also really great. And so you can update everything at the DMV, which is really nice.
And Emily Burr, our voter registration lead, does an incredible job at making sure these processes are running smoothly. So another shout out to one of our staff members, Emily. So
yeah, absolutely.
Doing great.
So those were some of the things that I just kind of wanted to touch on and talk about. Lots of misinformation, malinformation. Shout out to you and Jaga for doing our fact or
Matter of fact
Mondays.
Those are fun.
Yeah, and I think again, there's so much misinformation, malinformation out there, whether intentionally wrong or unintentionally wrong, that's floating around out there. So I want to encourage you to look at reputable sources like our office or the Secretary of State's office, not just random people out there who may want you to think that they're an authority on the topic when they may not be. So shout out to you and Jacob doing great things on our social media to promote the truth. And
we want people to know the truth. I mean, it's so easy for information to get out there that's not correct, and it spreads like wildfire. So I think this is a nice way to kind of combat that. So follow our social media pages and check out what information is actually correct.
Yes, agree.
So do you want to start talking about some dates that are coming up for the general election? I know it seems like it's so far away, but
I don't have dates. So if you have dates,
cool.
Go for it.
Yeah. So October 8th, that is when early voting begins, and absentee ballots will also be sent out during that time. That's also when mail and online registration closes. Like we were talking about earlier, the voter rolls close, but that's when same day registration begins. So if you need to update anything at that time, let's say you're moving October 10th, if you need to maybe change your address then you can do that at our early voting locations. Let's see. We also have early voting starting at expanded locations, or alternate locations, I should say, on October 19th. So we'll have more sites for early voting at that time. The applications for absentee are also end at that time at October 22nd. So that's the last day to send an absentee application is October 22nd. And of course, election day is on November 5th, general election day. So, of course.
So we're going to be talking about this. I mean, we're going to have several other election updates.
Oh, yeah.
election podcasts coming up. So we're going to be reiterating these dates. We're going to have the flyers and things like that with dates coming out soon. So be sure to look for that. We're working on updating the website because we just finished the primary election. Now we got to update dates and things like that for the November general election. So very excited about that.
Me
too.
We'll
be talking about this a lot coming up.
Yeah. So look out for those episodes, and we'll be giving you a lot of information coming up very soon. So
what else are we going to be talking about this season?
Ooh, so we have an episode about Billy the Kid, which I am very excited about. I know that's such an incredible topic here, and we have an expert for it. So I'm excited.
I'm very excited about it. We have some cool Billy the Kid stuff here. A lot of Pat Garrett. Yeah. I think we have some really cool docs that here in the vault that are very interesting and fun.
Absolutely. We also have, like I said, some more election updates. We have an NMSU professor who's going to be talking to us about somebody who donated land a while back ago to NMSU. Jacob Schneebly, I want to say. Schneebly, yes. So that will be a cool topic too.
Mr. Schneebly, like from the School of Rock?
I don't know
that name with Jack Black.
I don't know about that one.
Well, I'm the name, the name.
Yeah, like, I'm not sure if that's the exact name. I love that movie though. So I'm not sure if it's him, but that would be cool.
I don't think it's him, but I mean that's a cool name. That's very cool.
Yeah, so we have some great guests. Bern has found some incredible guests for this season, so I'm excited.
I'm excited about season 3 also. Be sure to follow us on all of our social platforms. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, and go ahead and listen to all the fun things that are happening.
Check out dacelections.com. We have some incredible information on there as well.
All right, we'll catch you next time.
Bye.